everybody. In today's art lesson, I'm going to show you how to draw a hand from observation. That means we'll be looking at your non-dominant hand on the table and drawing with your dominant hand. So I think drawing hands is super important for a beginning or young artist because it's the one thing that everyone says they can't do. I can't draw hands, I can't draw feet, I'm just gonna hide them off the edges of the page. I think that's a bad idea. I think it's something that you can do, and once you try it a few times and you get a really beautiful hand drawing, your confidence will go up and your skill level will go up. So if you're able to tackle one of these things that seems like unattainable and very hard, it can improve your artwork so much. So we're going to try drawing hands from observation today. Okay, so one of the easiest ways to learn how to draw your hand is to draw your own hand. So I used to do this a lot in high school. I would just sit with my hand on my desk and draw it on my paper beside me. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to put my hand in some kind of interesting position so that all the fingers aren't flat and the same. I'm going to give some variation, so maybe something like this. Alright, so we're going to start over on the right side of the paper. Number one, you want to start very loose and just, I'm going to have to draw darker, but you're going to draw a very light shape for about the size of the hand. So if you can see, I drew kind of just an oval, almost house shape for where I know my fingers come up here, they go down here, back over, and then my wrist. Okay, so you don't want to start too very concentrated and dark because your scale might end up off. So this keeps us drawing in the shape that is accurate, so your hand won't get too large or too small. Okay, so loose shape. Now we're going to start refining. I'm just drawing general lines to show me where the fingers are. There's a lot of flesh here, a lot of flesh here. I'm still being very loose and using just rounded shapes. Excuse my coffee brewing in the background. Alright, now I'm kind of complicating these shapes a little bit more, dividing them up into the different segments of the finger. I'm of the school of thought that the more lines you draw, the more likely your line is to be accurate. So I draw a lot of lines, as you can see, and then eventually it kind of appears to me which line is accurate and closest to what I'm drawing. Then I'll darken that line that's accurate and maybe erase the others, maybe leave them. I kind of like how drawings look when they're very loose. Another thing that you want to do is pay attention to the negative space. So right here, there is a negative space between these two fingers. So if I can get that shape accurate, it's more likely that I'll get the shape of the fingers around the open space accurate. These two fingers on the end, these two, are a little more challenging because they're foreshortened, meaning that we don't see this entire joint of the fingers. It's hidden in space. But just trust what you see. Trust what you see, not what you think a finger should look like. There we go. Got most of our fingers down. Okay, now I'm gonna go in and refine, see if my lines are really lining up as I want them to, and add just a little bit of shading. This video isn't necessarily about shading as it is observation and line drawing. So as you'll notice, I'm only darkening some areas. This is called weighted line. So that means that you're drawing focus to some areas and letting other areas, like here, fall back and not have as much visual importance because they're not quite as dark. Okay, so I'm just going to use shading to really highlight where the fingers are overlapping themselves and each other. Okay, so I noticed that it's darkest wherever my fingers are folding. I'm sitting by a window, so my light source is over here. That's where the window is. So I'm going to come in and just do very quick shading. It's still pretty dark in here because it's overlapped by these fingers. This half of my thumb is a bit darker. If your style is not quite as loose as mine and you want something more refined, that's perfectly fine. This is still a really great way to start out. You can always erase some of these lines out and use a blending stump and lots of drawing pencils to really get your shading accurate. Okay, so I have a mid-tone of value in the areas that I need it. Now I'm just going to go in and add some darker values. So we're going to have basically 3 values in the hands. This light value of the paper, light gray, and I'm going to come in with my dark one now. This finger here seems to be one of the darkest areas. It's quite dark right in here. Okay, very generally, that's how you draw a hand from observation. So a couple tips: start with a general shape, not with a very tight, small line. General shape, break it down into smaller general shapes like the shape of the flesh, the shape of the different segments of the fingers, and then concern yourself with the bone structure and add in some more angles and kind of smooth out those round shapes into more angular shapes of the finger. Then you're going to add in about 3 different values: a highlight, a mid-tone gray, and your darkest gray. Okay, nice job. I hope you guys are happy with your hands. I would love to see photos of the drawings that you did. So if you're proud of your hand and you feel really accomplished, I'd love to see your hand. Also, if you are struggling with part of it and you need some help, send me a photo and I can give you some pointers. So you can find my contact information, my email, and my personal work on my website, which is www.kellyansheridan.com.